seems to me that the debate certainly about whether Zionism as a political ideology is either necessary or a decent option for Jews is really a central question. That's the central question for Jewish communities for at least half a century, possibly for the entirety of the last century. And indeed, in many Jewish communities to this day, of all religious denominations, if you walk in and say to people even quite loudly that you don't believe in God, it's sort of, okay, fine, go on with the davening, it's not a real problem. If you say you're not a Zionist, you don't believe there should be a Jewish state, you can have real trouble staying with the rest of the people in the community. That is much more likely to make people extremely angry. The idea of doing this was in part sparked when reading Tony Lerman's piece from September, and I was particularly in the New York Times last year, the end of liberal Zionism. I particularly struck by one line, and I was struck by it as a person who has been a liberal Zionist since the beginning of my political consciousness. The idea that for Jews to have a state is perfectly fine and maybe even necessary, but that's perfectly compatible with a state that is also fully a democracy and fully a liberal state and has full rights for all of its other citizens. This was certainly something I deeply believed in and hoped for, even as I watched Israel become progressively more distant from that ideal. And then when I read Tony Lerman saying the only Zionism of any consequence today is xenophobic and exclusionary, a Jewish ethno-nationalism inspired by religious messianism, I thought, well, I hope that isn't true, but I'm always every day more worried that it is. Certainly seem to have a large kernel of truth. And if it's true, and I've been told by more people than I'd like to think now, people who I respect and with whom I share lots of other political views, that liberal Zionism is dead, passé, an illusion, that Zionism is now and will be for the future only a colonizing, anti-liberal, reactionary ideology. I thought, well, I hope that's not true, but if it is, what are we going to do next? What are those of us who have belief in a Jewish state, or a Jewish democratic state, going to do if our only option is a Jewish state that isn't democratic or a democratic state that isn't Jewish?